promises even bigger. The queen of Afro House, Niniola, is back again with the second installment of the Human Radio Concert. And this one's tagged The Musical Experience. Date is Friday the 8th of November 2019. All roads lead to the Balmoral Hall Federal Palace Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos. Time is 6 p.m. Tickets, regular 5,000 Naira offline and 3,000 Naira online. VIP 15,000 Naira offline and 10,000 Naira online. Tables 300,000 Naira. Get your tickets online at nairabox.com and ticketplanet.ng. The Human Radio Concert is proudly brought to you by Drummer Records and Nigeria Review and a support production Nelson Jack, media partners
Cool FM, Wasobia FM, Nigeria.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Oboh.
Join us 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. every weekday.
Right here.
On Hard Facts. Ever heard about dyslexia? It is a brain condition that makes people, children and adults, experience difficulty in learning, especially reading, writing, spelling, and comprehension. What are the signs and symptoms? How can it be managed? Tune in for all these and more at 9 a.m. every Saturday for a live discussion with the Dyslexia Foundation on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
This is Hard Facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
Shaku Maku, everybody. How are you doing? A hot afternoon it is in the city of Lagos. Sandra, Sava Negative.
Lagos has finally emerged, yes.
I saw some Senegalese people. I was speaking Wolof for them.
Oh, I see.
A lot of people don't realize that when we had that fight over which was the most, which was the best rice. What brand of specialty of rice is that?
Oh, yeah, no, the
rice?
Senegalese people own that.
They did realize that the word is even a Senegalese word. It's a Wolof word.
They can't even have that conversation with us because it will be beneath them. It's like, okay, it's fine. Let the children fight. It's okay.
So my other country of birth is Senegal. I love Dakar, you know. But that's a story for another day.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning into Hard Facts. Aghogho and I are here every weekday, once it's 3:15, to give you the best insights into today's most important topics. We bring them to you, break them down, help you make sense of them, and you go away with an informed opinion. If you missed any of last week's shows, watch it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. We're currently streaming this particular conversation on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM, but you can watch via Facebook and Twitter as well. We've got a great show for you today. 6 University of Ibadan officials arrested for helping students cheat. Nigeria spent Abacha Loot on payments to the poor. And pencil manufacturers want $500 billion in government support. What's on Community Report, Aghogho?
All right, so Chukwudi is going to be doing a second part of a story which he began last week, which is looking at the conditions people are living at a destitute home in Okobaba in Ebutemeta. Ironically, Chukwudi calls them inmates, but the irony is that they live in lives in that place like inmates. They should be residents of that facility, which has been in place since 1996, when retired General Buba Marwa was the military administrator for Lagos State. So he'll be there, and we will be doing this with InfoConnect. So it means that you can watch Chukwudi go through from room to room and look at all of those conditions people are living in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and on the big hard facts, we're going to look at the border closure. We're going to explore the policy implications of the complete border closure, as well as the effects on trade and the economy. As usual, throughout the show, we're bringing you the latest updates from the world of business, sports, entertainment, you name it. We have it right here on Hard Facts. But let's get right into the big three.
This is the Big Three
The Big Three on Hard Facts.
on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
So we have the guys at Raleigh Academy joining us at 3:45. That means that for every story we bring to you on the Big Three, you want to react to them, you have to send us WhatsApp messages and Facebook messages, YouTube comments as well, because we may not have time to take your calls. So start sending WhatsApp messages to 080-959-75805, 080-959-75805. That's WhatsApp, 080-959-75805. You can also share your thoughts on these stories on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Nigeria Info FM for all of them. Now, on the Big Three, you expect stories that everybody's talking about right now. Why are lecturers, teachers, and staff spearheading exam malpractice? Was the Abacha Loot well spent? And is it important for Nigeria to manufacture pencils? Let's get into these stories. The State Security Service has arrested 6 officials of the University of Ibadan for allegedly helping students with exam malpractice. The officials were apprehended after the management of the UI Distance Learning Center caught students with answer scripts during an exam on Thursday. By the next day, the students were alleged to have named the 6 officials as their accomplices who smuggled the scripts into the exam hall for them. And the Vice Chancellor reported the case to the SSS, who promptly arrested the officials. First, sexual harassment, now exam malpractice. Aghogho.
Yeah, exam malpractice has always been there. Every other year, the school senate of the different universities would kick out staff and students who've been involved in examination malpractices. What got me in this story is the blend of the different crimes this staff is said to have committed, from smuggling of the script, which wasn't enough, to writing examinations, fabrications of CBT results, and falsification of clearance for students. I mean, this is huge when you think about how old University of Ibadan is. The guys who were behind the founding of the University of Ibadan could never have imagined at some point in time they could be they would have been caught up in this sort of huge scandal. And in every school, usually they would have the rules and regulations, especially when people are caught. These are the things they're most likely going to face. One question I got at the back of my mind when I got this story was, how far does this trace back? I mean, is this just happening now, or have people gone through this cartel through the system the last number of years? So they could take some more digging in to find out just how deep and endemic this is. But just at first look, this is the scoop is huge. It's big enough to cause plenty of concern.
My first question is how and why so many Nigerians have accepted exam malpractice as normal. Why? Why is this happening? Why have so many Nigerians accepted exam malpractice as normal? Now, I have to start by pointing out that right now, these are just allegations, and these officials will still have their day in court, as well as the students, but you can give us the opportunity to talk about a very big and very rampant problem in our society. And a couple of weeks ago, we discussed another case here on the Big Three. You remember that? That one was with a secondary school student and a secondary school teacher. They were communicating by text during the exam and they got caught. And a lot of people, when they hear these stories, are alarmed to find that it's teachers, it's lecturers, it's school officials who are helping the students to cheat. And We talked about this as well during the sex for marks discussions. Some people were saying, hey, it's a two-way street. Some students also seduce the lecturers. And others said, look, the lecturer is the one with all the power. If a student approaches a lecturer with sex or with money to help him or her cheat, and the lecturer refuses, there's nothing the student can do to punish the lecturer. So to those people, it's alarming to see lecturers and school officials who have all the power taking part in malpractice and these other shady deals as well. They were not forced to do this, Aghogho. So it begs the question, how did we come to this point? Why are so many Nigerians lukewarm about exam malpractice? Why have we accepted exam malpractice as normal? How did it become such a normal part of school life, you know? I mean, I can't even ask how rampant it is because I think, it's rampant. But perhaps I can ask how rampant it was in your secondary school or your polytechnic or your university. Were the teachers and lecturers involved? Who's to blame for that? Is it the teachers, the lecturers, the students, the parents? And again, shouldn't teachers, Aghogho, be held to a higher standard than their students?
Right. But I don't know how rampant while I was in university it wasn't common. You probably could hear of people while in the exam hall they try to ask people questions. But the level this is to the point where people are smuggling in scripts and then manipulating the CBT, which is a computer-based test, to get it into. I mean, I've had a number of those things, but they were just one of, but not the norm. What I found out, not just with the university level, I remember once we had a show. I cannot remember whose show it was, but some parents had complained that certain parents, where they had gone to write the National Common Entrance Examination, this is primary school level, were paying certain people within the venue of the examination, this is primary school now, not even university or secondary school, to provide them answers in the hall. So it's a culture that has different actors involved, not just the teachers. Sometimes the parents influence, and is where we had the thing called special centers back then. Evolved from. So the owners of these lessons or preparatory classes, just because they wanted to prove that they had the best results or the best records for people going into universities, found ways in which they could influence the system, and they put it out there. We had 100 children in this lesson center preparatory class for JAM or SSC, and we had 99% success rate, and that was used as a promo.
Again, how did we get here is the big question. Answer that question for us. Why don't you get on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter and let us know. If we have time, we'll take your calls. But right now, we'll move on to the second story after this break.
Stay right here on the Big Three on 99.3 Nigeria Info. This is the Big Three
The Big Three on Hard Facts.
on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Lagos, you're listening to Hard Facts. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh.
On the Big Three today, we are asking very, very simple questions. Why are lecturers, teachers, and staff spearheading exam malpractice? And do you think the Abacha Loot was well spent? That's our second story. 37 billion naira. That's how much Abacha Loot the federal government has shared among the poorest Nigerians since August last year. 37 billion naira. This was the figure given by Miriam Uwais, the Special Assistant to the President on Social Investment, at a public speech. Uwais reminded Nigerians that under an agreement between Nigeria, Switzerland, which returned the money, and the World Bank, Nigeria would only get the money back if it used it for social programs that directly benefit the poor. This was done as a response to past refunds, which the international community claims were not used transparently. White said the funds were used specifically for the National Cash Transfer Program, a part of the National Social Investment Program, SIP. White claims the program has over 620,000 enrolled beneficiaries. Share the money, Aghogho. I think I qualify as one of Nigeria's poorest. I don't know why I didn't get any money. Did you get any money, Aghogho?
I don't know. I'll go check my account and see whether I can
see how far.
Because
aren't we all poor?
Came from.
Is it not multi-dimensional poverty?
Oh, boy. I wrote this on chorus. Slap left, right, center, your head and back. But seriously speaking, every time I hear this Abacha Loot, I think going back rolling through the years, if there's one thing I think that the Okuta panel failed to help us with, apart from the fact that we're entertained throughout the night when that ran late 1999, early 2000, 2001, was the fact that this was never talked about. The human rights abuses during the military era, especially during Ibrahim Babangida and Sani Abacha's tenure in this country, was talked about in great deal. But the monies wasn't talked about in detail. So every time I hear about this entire money and the embarrassment we faced as a country, so that the Swiss government had said that Nigerian government hadn't done well with the $740-50 million recovered from Abacha, up to the point that the $300 million, which is added about over $1 billion, which was stored away by the former military despot, is the fact that we'll have to take advice from the World Bank, and this arrangement to, like you say, share the money amongst the poor is sad, because previous government have always come about the way they can end poverty. Is saying, for example, I remember Olusegun Obasanjo then when Magnus Pakol was the poverty alleviation boss, and they said that they're going to find 12,000 poor people in every area, and those 12,000 poor people, this is where transparency dies, will be decided by the local government chairman in knowing who was poor in the local government. Found eventually when they just took one of those local governments, all of those guys were related to the local government or to some political office holder.
Or something.
Yeah, or some people, or ghost names, at the end of the day, people's names were compiled. So, one, we now know how that money was spent, but I think two, furthermore, is that we shouldn't wait for the minister, for Mrs. Ways to tell us this is how this money has been spent. Sarah Pat put up a case some years, I think it was 2 years ago, saying they want to break down. First and foremost, that was even ridiculous, because then they had said they were going to give only 19 of the poorest states and leave out 17. And they said, no, let everyone be involved in this sharing of the money.
Share the national money. Divide the national cake.
I would like to see the breakdown.
Did you see my Zanku? Is this Zanku? Karim, is this Zanku?
I mean, it's straight. I mean, people went to university, PhD degrees and master's degrees, and they say the best way in ending poverty is to share
the national money. Divide the national cake. Now, I did the math. 37 billion naira shared by 620,000 people is 59,677 naira. So let's say that each person got 60,000 naira. Now, they got that money spread over 14 months. That's about 4,285 naira per person per month. That's about 5,000 naira. Now, remember the campaign promise of 5,000 naira a month for the poorest people? Well, there you go. We were able to give 600,000 poor Nigerians about 5K a month. And it only cost us a whooping 37 billion in a year and 2 months. So when you look at those numbers, there are bound to be those who praise the intervention, while others will ask if the money that we spent was worth it. And it comes down to, I guess, whether or not you believe that 5,000 naira will make a difference in these people's lives or not. Now, the World Bank says that about 90 million Nigerians live in poverty. And if you want to extend this program to just 10% of the 90 million people, that's 9 million people. You would have to multiply that 37 billion naira that we split, that 37 billion naira bill, by about 15 to cover those people. That's 555 billion naira, half a trillion. Now, remember, of course, that our budget is 10 trillion naira. So this will take 5% of our budget. So there are people who look at those figures and they say, government does not have the money to make these cash transfers to a meaningful number of Nigerians. So maybe this money should be used for something else. And then there are those who question how, like Aghogho raised, the 600,000 recipients were selected. There have been claims that the process was not transparent, but the World Bank has said, we're satisfied with it. It's okay. Just share the money. It's all right. So we have to ask you, who's listening, who's watching, who's seeing all of this happen. I say watching because you can actually watch us, YouTube Nigeria Info FM. Do you think this 5K cash transfer is a good idea? Do you know anybody who received it? Anybody at all who's a recipient? How do you feel about the selection process? What do you think government should use the Abacha Loot for? On WhatsApp, someone says Shakumaku and says, good afternoon, Sandra and Aghogho. Exam malpractice is an incessant thing that happens in our institutions. The lecturers do it like it's nothing, and the students now see it as a norm. That's why we have lazy students. Xavier from Ojo says, Xavier, but how did we get to that point? Yes, this is what it is now. How did we get there? Why is it a norm? Tayo Guni says, authorities getting involved in examination malpractice simply tell us that the extent of corruption has eaten deep into our system. This is a direct pointer to the level of degradation in our country. I agree with you, Mr. Guni. It is the economic state of the country that encourages university staff to expose exam questions and answers. Corruption is embedded in Nigeria, Loretta from Ikeja says. We've got more comments coming in through WhatsApp. Don't forget, we said that you can send in your comments on WhatsApp because we may not have time to take your calls. So WhatsApp is available, Facebook and YouTube are also available, Twitter as well. And Robert says, Sandra and Shakumaku, tell our government to invest in our education. Else, examination malpractice will continue to thrive. The Nigeria Educational Foundation is shaking, so almost every student finds it possible to possess the certificate. All right, Robert, thanks for sending that to us. You too can send a message to WhatsApp 080-959-75805. 080-959-75805. Our final story, the Minister for Science and Technology, Oboh, has praised the production of made in Nigeria pencils and has promised that government will help the manufacturers. Onu made this commitment when he received the owners of Nigeria's second pencil factory. Onu praised the businessman for his patriotism and his innovation, since the pencils are made of recycled newspaper. And he lamented, Onu that is, that currently Nigerians spend over 750 billion naira a year importing pencils. How much do you spend on pencils, Aghogho? Nigeria lost China is the title of the story with importation. I did a story like that once. How much do you spend pencils though? Serious question. I can't remember when last I used a pencil. You bought a pencil. You don't buy one for your daughter? Yes, I do. I remember I do. So how much? Yeah. I can't remember. but it's that cheap actually, for you to get pencils. Even though a lot of my life I did use pens because I do design and draw and all of those stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think beyond the fact about the pencil story is a culture of using pencils. When I went to China, every meeting I attended, they had pencils there. There were no pens.
But we were so quick to throw away the pencils and run to, growing up, when did you drop the pencil?
Oh God, I think I wanted to drop it as fast as primary 3. I really wanted to drop pencils really
I wonder
fast.
why we don't use pencils.
It was a sign that you have arrived.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Being able to use pen means that you have arrived.
Yes, so unfortunately we didn't realize how much maybe if we had used pencils for a lot longer period, we probably would have realized that it's time we started to make our own pencils and save us. Pencils, they have the grades from grade 1B to the professionals like us that use 10B and 11B, which is charcoal. Or like, so you can get the shades and, but the amateur.
I don't think I got past 2B.
And that was for elementary.
That's
artists.
Yeah.
When you get a higher levels like 11B
HB
and 12B.
pencil, I
yes.
remember.
Yeah.
When I was going for my entrance examination, I think I had to. It said HB or something. I don't know. I'm trying to remember now.
If you got charcoal with 11 or 12B, you're in for it. But appears Obonoyo Ono is infatuated with this dream of the pencils ever after shades were cast at him when he had said the Nigerian pencil dream. The pencil manufacturing was a Nigerian technological dream way back then. Maybe that 150 billion naira you talked about being spent importing pencils from China could find their way into Nigerian manufacturers' pockets.
750 billion.
750 billion. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You have to remember, of course, in 2015, when President Buhari first nominated Onu to be minister and he faced the Senate, he made headlines when he said one of his goals would be to get Nigeria to produce pencils. And as a policy goal, that idea split opinions. Some people said, it's ridiculous how low the target is. And they said other countries are talking about tech and artificial intelligence and biotech. But Nigeria is talking about pencils. But then you had the people who said, look, we have to crawl before we can walk. The important thing is to start manufacturing anything that we can manufacture to build capacity and increase exports. And still others countered that point by saying, even if that's the case, pencils should not be a policy priority for the Minister of Science and Technology.
Sent a message, say 20 naira for one pencil.
Wow, is that expensive now? Oh my God, pencils are that expensive now?
They probably start to rob you in traffic. Give me that pencil. How many pencils have you given? I have 10. That's 200 naira.
But see, Aghogho, I found something about this visit interesting. Ono was praising the pencil manufacturers and saying that producing pencils would save Nigeria 750 billion naira that we currently spend importing pencils. Yeah. But the pencil manufacturer said something. He said, we need government to support the industry with, wait for it, 500 billion naira. And I was puzzled when I heard that, because the whole idea was for the pencils to save us money. But now they're asking for aid from government that is equal to 2/3 of the amount that government says that we lose to pencil imports. So it don't make sense for me. I don't know. Does it make sense for you?
Well, maybe they're looking at the value chain too because of the multiplier effect. If you have more people produce pencils, it will increase a certain area. In fact, that industry will blossom because of how it happens. You'll be amazed.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, who's listening to the show?
Look at the guy who did the pencil work, and what's the American comedian who called him?
Kevin Hart?
Kevin Hart. It was just pencil work.
So all of us should become artists.
Well, if you
do we really use that much pencils in Nigeria? Actually, yes, we do. We've got a lot of primary schools.
That guy probably used how many grades of pencil to draw that Kevin Hart picture?
I have no idea. I'm not an artist, so I can't comment on that. But it makes me ask the question, if manufacturing of pencils worth this amount of aid is worth it from government. Do you believe importing pencils is a problem? Should this be a government priority? Do you believe the figure that we spend 750 billion naira every year importing pencils, 750 billion every year importing pencils? Now, send your comments to us via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75825. 080-959-75825. And of course, there's Twitter, where you can share your thoughts by tweeting at Nigeria Info FM. Facebook as well is Nigeria Info FM. Now, we have run out of time, so we have to give way for the guys from Raleigh Academy to tell you why investing in Forex could be beneficial for you. And after that, Chukwudi Ezekwesili and Aghogho Oboh are going. Where are you going again at 4?
Okobaba. that's the destitute home Chukwudi was at last week. So he's back there today for some more insider stories.
All right. So let's talk to Riley Academy, come back and go to Okobaba.
99.3 Nigeria Info.